You're listening to Hollywood Inclusive on the Good Talk Podcast Network.
Welcome. Today on Hollywood Inclusive, we talk Nate Parker and if black people have a responsibility to support him. Then we talk about Ryan Lochte and peak white privilege.
And I will tell a story of where I come from, embarrassing myself. I'll give you a hint. I come from a place where there's lots of white people. Don't make scary white people noise.
And then we'll follow that up and wrap everything up with what we're watching, which is pretty much exclusively on Netflix.
All this and more today on Hollywood Inclusive.
Hey, what's up? This is Rafael Alejandro from Secaucus, New Jersey, and I'm the creator of Ginebra Films and Media, and we're launching our first project, which is Drive My Car. You can find the information about it on Kickstarter. It's a really exciting show. I'm one of the voices in the entertainment industry, so get ready for Hollywood Inclusive in 4, 3, 2.
Hollywood Inclusive.
Hollywood Inclusive.
Hollywood Inclusive. Hear all the voices.
Hi there, I'm Deron
And I'm Kirk Moore.
and this is episode 2 of
Hollywood Inclusive.
Oh, we said it at
Wait,
the same time. Just like we planned it. Let's do the whole podcast simultaneously. What do you say?
Synchronized swimming is, in style these days.
Absolutely. New Olympic event, synchronized podcasting.
Perfect.
Hey, we're going to dive in. If you listened to us last time, you know that the plan is for us to do 4 episodes of figuring it out.
And y'all kind of struggling through it with us, and
we're dragging you on the route with us as we figure it out. Yeah, telling us, that's a key. By all means, let us know if we're if any place we veer off course. But so the deal is that when we get going, we're gonna have a controversial segment. I forget which one it is. Oh, so segment 1 is always gonna be the top story.
The story of the week.
Story of the week, and then segment 3 is going to be sort of like the most controversial.
Wait, I think you skipped 2.
Well, 2 is the guests.
The guests, which we don't have, but guests are right around the corner.
And we're only doing 3 segments today, so it all works out.
Right.
But the point of the story is that we're going to do story of the week, and we're going to do the controversial one, and we have a few different kinds of segments that fits into that controversial segment. One of them is called What Pissed You Off? And today we're kind of combining those in segment 1 here, and we're doing both a story of the week and what pissed you off.
Because they're kind of like cousins. Like
they really are this week.
Yeah.
It's a brutal week.
Yeah.
So Kirk, what pissed you off?
You know what? Okay, so listen. So today I'm going to give you a little story because So today I went to Habit Burger. Have you ever gone to Habit Burger?
I literally went to Habit Burger today.
You did?
Right before we get, yeah.
I went to Habit Burger because Habit Burger, I don't think they have the best burgers, but they never let me down. Like, they're always consistent.
Right.
So, anyway, so
it's
I went
like In-N-Out without the wait.
I don't like In-N-Out.
Well,
no. The In-N-Out fries taste like cardboard.
That's fair.
I know LA people love In-N-Out. No, I can't. There's no way I'm waiting in a line.
Moving on.
Sorry.
Before you find out what pissed me off.
So anyway, I go into Habit Burger and Don't Lie by the Black Eyed Peas comes on, and I probably haven't heard that song in like 1,000 years. I don't even know if I liked it when it came out, but anyway, it was just on randomly, and to me it just set the theme of who pissed me off today, and that is Ryan. Is it Lochte?
Lochte.
Ryan Lochte is who pissed me off today and last week. He pissed me off the last Olympics because he got on my nerves.
If you're living under a rock, he's the fella who, after his race, he and his buddies went to a gas station and got into an altercation over using the bathroom, vandalized some property, peed over the alleyway, depending on who you
they
listen
went
to.
back, and he went to his mama, and he told his mama some rough, tough Brazilian native thugs held us up and didn't steal anything because they had everything that they left with. And and then he came back. He left and flew back to America. Ryan did. The other 2 guys
They weren't as clever with the,
they were not as
the
clever.
exit stage left.
And my outside of just this guy, and I almost called him a kid, which is, we're gonna get to that. But just outside of this guy going to someone else's country, disrespecting it while they're supposed to be representing our country, and then fleeing before they can be reprimanded for the lie that they told, and then to watch people make excuses for this guy over and over, whether it's because they said they were just kids playing around, whether it's the guy on the sportingnews.com who said that we all lie, so we need to excuse Ryan's lies.
If you want to read a terribly written article, man, hey, he just lied. What's the matter with lying? Yeah, I mean, we all lie. Everybody lies, so I'm lying right now.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I cannot. I don't know why this Ryan situation has affected me probably more than so much of the other bullshit that has happened this year and last year, because I just feel that this is like peak top of the mountain white privilege. Like, it doesn't get white privilege. It doesn't get any more peak privilege than this dude just. And I guess because I think that he's going to get away with it. And I think that is what's bothering me. I could be totally wrong, but we've seen situations and things like this play out, whether it's the affluenza kid, whether it's George Zimmerman, whether it's...
So the point is, if this is a black athlete doing the exact same thing...
Listen, I talked on Twitter today, and I was like, listen, I got mad because I actually defended Chris Brown for something that he hadn't even done yet. But I was just like, if Chris Brown had gone to Brazil and broke up everything and pissed, they would have been like, thug rapper Chris Brown don't rap, but that's what happens. The R&B singers turn into rappers when they do something bad. And I just feel like people wouldn't have been so kind. The same people who, Jeff Owens, who wrote this article about everybody lies, would not have said the same thing about Chris Brown. It's the same way they treated Gabby Douglas. It was like, her hair isn't combed, she looks so angry, she didn't hold her hand over her heart during the national anthem, even though you're not supposed to hold your hand over your heart during the national anthem. And I just feel like, come on. It's so exhausting. It's so annoying. And I'm so tired of it.
Tired of the media portrayal. I mean, obviously the internet gives us both reactions as soon as something like this happens.
Right.
And it's been brought to the forefront, left and right, that, like, every time there's a riot, if a protest turns into cars on fire, that's a group of thugs ruining society. If celebration after a sporting event turns into cars on fire.
It's rambunctious college kids.
Oh, you cute guys. You're so excited.
And to me, I just, a guy who, I think his heart was in the right place. He tweeted me today when I talked about it, and he was like, I just feel that you're being so divisive and you're not helping out the issue by talking to, calling it privilege and racism. I mean, I'm like, no, I should be calling it what it is so that people can understand what it is, because you clearly don't understand what it is. And I feel like how many times have I said I feel like? I mean, I'm just so annoyed with this guy and his treatment. I don't know if he's going to be punished. I hope he is punished for vandalism, for destroying property, for lying to the authorities, for having silver hair at the Olympics. I hope he is. I hope he's punished for all of it,
especially the silver hair.
So I'm sick of him.
This takes us to the other story that we thought was a real touch point for this week, right? Because we're talking media portrayal. We're talking media portrayal and how it's different depending on race sometimes.
Right.
And that other story that's surfacing or resurfacing is Nate Parker.
Right.
So this story,
let me cut my throat.
Horror stories, right?
Yes.
The story of Nate Parker. For those living under a rock, writer, director, producer of Birth of a Nation. The story of Nat Turner, who led a giant slave rebellion. Beyond slave rebellion, like he led the kill all the white people 1863 or whatever you want to call it.
Yes, and Nate Parker fought for years and years to get this movie made. He, again, like Deron said, he pretty much wore all the hats to get this movie made. He, was raising money for years to get this film made. So it's really been a passion project for him. He was rewarded at Sundance for all of his hard work, having won the Audience Award, right?
He won. I don't know about that specifically, but his monetary, like what it sold for, was
like $17.5 million. Right. For
a big deal.
Fox Searchlight, right? Yes, I think so. I'm sure.
Someone will fact check us.
Yes, but yes. So it's now come to many people's attention now, even though this has sort of been common knowledge, I guess, if you have ever searched Nate Parker on Wikipedia or whatnot, that there was a rape. It occurred, was it 17 years ago when he was 19?
Yeah.
And Nate Parker and another gentleman were accused of raping this young lady. Nate Parker was found innocent, and the other gentleman, Gene Celestine, I think that's how you pronounce it, or Gene Celestine.
I don't know. I heard Gene said today. Now, I also heard he wasn't found innocent. He was found not guilty, which is it semantically means something different,
right?
In
Thank you.
legalese, and I don't know the difference off the top of my head, but here we are talking about people in a public forum. We have to make sure we say the right things too, and use alleged here and there, right? But go ahead.
Yeah. So, now people are really talking about it. People are revisiting the trial. There are some documents and transcripts that have come up, and when you review them,
I read the testimony today from the other dude who was there, the guy who chose to walk out of the room.
Yes.
And it's pretty damn incriminating.
I mean, listen, basically, from the way I see it, Nate Parker tried to run a train on this girl. If, I have known about trains and whatnot since high school. I've heard people talk about them all the time in a way that it's normalized because you hear it so much. It's like, oh, they're going to, you don't think of it, but this young lady who is now deceased,
she committed suicide.
She was,
and she committed suicide 12 years after the event,
right.
So we can't say that they were related necessarily, but obviously
there's some possible trauma,
lives, so.
Right? And so there's sort of been the discussion that, and this is sort of a struggle that I need to talk about within myself, is like, where do you stop and start support? And I feel that this is something I've gone back, because as a creative and as a writer and filmmaker, I admire what Nate Parker did. I admired him raising his money. I admire him telling his story. At the same time, I'm like, fuck, like, you told your homeboy to come in and had while this girl was laying up drunk, and was like, yo, join in. And then you wrote the movie with him. And that, to me, is, oh man, that to me is just, I can't, like I said, I admire everything that he's done. I don't know where I stand. I think that, in the two statements that he's released since then, I think that I would love some sympathy for the victim that I don't necessarily feel that I see. And again, I don't, outside of reading those transcripts, we don't know what happened, but I think that there is a huge pressure to say, well, you're black, like, you have to support Nate Parker, you have to support this story. And honestly, like, I'm at a point where I don't know what I want to do right now, but what I do know is that I don't, as a black person, feel that I should hold the responsibility to support every black person who gets in trouble, or every black person who does something. And I think that that's a weight and a pressure and a responsibility that none of us should have to have. I mean, we heard it with the Bill Cosby scandal. It's like, oh, you have to support Bill Cosby, he was our dad, and and all this stuff. And it's like, but if he is a rapist, he ain't my dad, and I don't want that type of face representing me.
So
And-
to play devil's advocate, because that's part
Okay.
of my job on the show, right?
okay, I mean, let's
Is,
go.
you know, there's the, how do we split our appreciation for the artist and our appreciation for the person, right? Or our
Right.
appreciation for the artist and our appreciation for the person, the
Right.
politician. Like, you know, Johnny Depp. Do I stop watching his movies because it's, you know, we were hearing the stories about him and his wife this week, right?
Or you stop watching because they're not good.
Well, there's that. You know, or Tom Cruise jumps on the couch on Oprah, and we're like, this guy's crazy. Do we stop watching his movies? And, you know, I mean, it seems like society has a pretty forgiving approach to, oh, well, you're an artist, we're going to move on. But
Right.
I don't know where the right... where to settle in on that in terms of...
I mean, and for me, like, listen, this is why I can't judge somebody for going to see the movie the same way I don't feel that somebody should judge me if I want to go see it or if I don't want to support him. I think that there's a thing that we have to decide. Like, I mean, we're dealing with sort of our personal feelings of something that is real. So it's like, what do you consider consent? What do you consider rape? How long do we have to forgive somebody? This happened, 17 years ago. Should he be forgiven? Should he show more remorse? Like, I feel like there's a lot of different things that people take into consideration when talking about this and deciding where they stand, on this particular issue and topic. And
it's also weird to even like, we were talking about a few of the different things going on. The guy who jumped in on the UCB rape case, Amy Schumer's writer, whose name is failing me, Kessler. The sort of trial in the court of public opinion, the trial in the court of social media, the usefulness of that, even us sitting here talking about these cases, who are we to talk about it? At the same time, these things have to be examined if we're going to cope with them as a society.
Because I hope that, like, and we talked about this last week, I'm not trying to offend anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to offend anybody. I want to state, where I stand on something, and I hope that I'm doing that in a way that you're like, okay, I get what this guy's saying. So, like, in the terms of Ryan Lochte, in his case, it's like, listen, I have nothing. I don't know him personally. I don't know any of these people personally. Actually, I have nothing nice to say about him. I can only go by what I know of him, what we've been presented. He's had like kind of a bad boy past. He has been in trouble before. They kind of built this maturing of Ryan Lochte leading up to the Olympics that then showed he hasn't matured as much as, people would have liked us to believe.
I think for me personally, I want to have no opinion on these things. I want to be able to say, you know what, Bill Cosby will have his day in court, and it's not up to me to decide whether I side with Janice Dickinson.
Right.
Let's let the process be due process.
Yeah,
unfortunately, do you see how I jumped in there in anticipation?
Yes.
Unfortunately, our judicial system fails us left and right in
Okay.
terms of what actually happens, and then you have to decide where's the right place to be. And
especially in rape cases, like, I mean, on the two shows that I've worked on and dealing with sexual assault, American crime, and on the show that I worked on for Netflix on 13 Reasons Why, we deal with boundaries and bullying and sexual assault, and the thing that I have noticed in the people we've talked to and the research that I've done, like, guys do not understand boundaries. And I don't know where that starts, where that comes. I don't know if that's patriarchy. I don't know if that's the Bible. I don't know where it starts. But young men not only don't understand boundaries, they're not taught boundaries. And I think if you take the Nate Parker case is an extreme in talking about boundaries, but we don't teach young boys boundaries, and so they don't know when they've gone too far, or they flat out just don't respect women enough to even care if they've gone too far.
So we won't decide everything else, but at least we can decide that.
Yeah.
Teach your children well.
And let them lead the way.
Exactly. All right. So as our audience, without trying people in the court of public opinion, by all means, let us know what you think about the cases that we brought up. Hit us up on Twitter and, make your voice heard.
Yeah, do all that, what he said.
Meanwhile, on to segment 2.
All right, welcome to segment 2. Now, this will eventually be the sort of section where we do a feedback and a check back. So, things that we talked about either, this segment or even in segments before, in episodes before, that you want to chime in, tell us what you think. This is where we would talk about that stuff.
Even if you just listen to something we said and say, hey guys, go deeper, because you barely scratched the surface on that. Let us know which those subjects are for you, or the segments that you really liked. And we're devoting one segment each show to checking back, revisiting a topic or essentially, mailbag from you who are listening to us. So by all means, if you're sitting at a computer listening to this right now, hit us up. Give us a tweet on what you think of Ryan Lochte or the Nate Parker situation.
Yeah, and and we definitely appreciate all the feedback that we've gotten thus far, and all the retweets and likes and all that stuff. Keep that coming. It makes us feel good about ourselves on a Friday and Saturday and Sunday.
Keeps us going and lets people know about what we're doing. So that's much appreciated. Everybody who even just hit us with a little star this week, much appreciated. We didn't have anybody, submit any questions or thoughts or anything from last week. We did have one person, this fuck Trump dude, he came at us with, rap music is a bad, I'm not even going to.
I don't know. Did we talk about rap music last? What?
No, not at all.
I think I've mentioned Future. I try to mention Future at least once a day. So I did think I mentioned Future. And
maybe. Did you talk about influence and how it's ruining society? I don't think so, though.
Probably not.
I'm bringing this up. I'm bringing this up partly because I definitely want us to keep the conversation for everybody, right? That said, we're already giving this dude more attention than he deserves, because you go to his Twitter feed and it's full of hate, and that's not what we're going to do. What we do want is, like I said last week, right? As the the white guy participating in the race podcast, the conversation has to be inclusive about inclusivity, right?
Right.
An example, because minds can be changed if you just sort of hold people's feet to the fire every once in a while, and if you go along and not talk about it, race is a taboo subject, then we perpetuate what we've already got.
Right.
And that just happens over and over again. I had a situation with a I'll say an older male relative. This person will never listen to this ever, ever, ever.
Do they not have a computer?
It's possible. So I'm not worried about offending, but nonetheless, I'm going to maintain a level of anonymity on this. But I was talking to him, and he was pointing out that, like, and you have to understand, I grew up in the sticks. I'm from north of Seattle, well in the country. I had about 1,000 people in the city limits of the town where I went to school. More cows than people kind of place. Very agricultural. My first jobs were like I picked spinach, I picked eggs. That's how I made a summer living as a kid. Anyway, he was pointing out that in our county, you could go to this one part over here, and that's where you could tell that's where the Mexicans lived, because everybody had a car in their front yard. But if you went to the other side of the county, you could tell where the Indians lived, because everyone had boats junking out in their front yard. And that was the difference in how you could tell that. Okay. And so he tells me this, and I think it's just, kind of like a joke he's repeating, I guess, a racist joke. And I say to him, there are plenty of white people with cars in their front yard. Look around, right? And I shit you not, he looks at me and he says, now you say it, I guess I do have both a boat and a car in my front yard. And I mean, true story. This happened to me, in the last couple of years. And so there's a degree to which the conversation has to involve everybody. Like an older female relative at one point said to me something like, I'm beginning to think gay people aren't so bad. This was a long time ago, and this is in the 90s or whatever. And I mean, and it was literally the influence of Will and Grace.
Well, she got some in the 90s. She got started early. That was
right.
good.
Yeah, absolutely. Good for her.
Will and Grace, way to go, Will and Grace.
But the fact of the matter is that the conversation has to happen, the representation has to happen. People have to have exposure to people who are different than them before they can have.
And then that exposure needs to be varying. Like we'd like to see different types of exposure on television, where certain types of people aren't the same type of people every time they're on our televisions or movie screens, and that's something that I hope as a writer to bring to the things that I do. I'm sure Deron, wants the same thing. I hope you do. You want the same thing?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, well, good. So see, that's why we're
here.
here.
Yeah, exactly. I'm here, right? Despite the embarrassing stories I've just told you of my own family.
I listen. My cousins will listen to this, and if I say something about them, they will cuss me out on Facebook. So that's the difference in between our families.
Yeah. But enough about families. Now that I've completely... my face is actually a little red from telling that story. I'm embarrassed.
You're fine.
On to television, segment 3. All right, last segment for today. Eventually we're going to do 5. Right now during our previews we're doing 3. The last segment, every time we're going to try to end with a light note, the sunshine segment. We are going to do different, tips and trends, hooray for Hollywood.
What's your favorite?
We're going to try and do the what's your favorite game every time. So hit us up with questions. Tweet to myself or Kirk and ask us what's our favorite. You fill in the blank. What do you want to know? And it won't be just for us. It'll be for our guests as well to play along. But for today, we're just going to kind of talk about what we've been watching and the trends that go along with that in television. I know for me, I have kids, so my TV watching time is
right.
So what I'm watching is Sesame Street on HBO, which, by the way, the production value has gone up quite a bit since they moved over to HBO. I gotta say, overproduced, to be honest.
Overproduced for kids?
Overproduced for anybody. Like, the joy of Sesame Street is puppets hanging out, right? And it's gotten to be pretty CGI intensive in a way. Like, there's an entire animated segment that lasts 10 minutes every episode. Which, by the way,
do you think that your kids would enjoy the Sesame Street that you enjoyed?
Almost. So we watch it via HBO, but I also share via YouTube.
Okay.
And YouTube has a lot of the classic Sesame Street.
Right.
His taste doesn't matter what the production value is right now. He cares about whether it's musical.
Okay.
My
so
kid likes music, so
all right.
If it's a song, he doesn't care when it's from. But I will say, Abby's Flying School, this is the animated segment every time. He zones out. He has no interest in that.
Okay. And that's the one with all the CGI.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so who knows? Anyway, but that was not what I was going to talk about. I say, it takes over your life. It is kind of what I'm watching. But no, on my own time, BoJack Horseman. I just went through the 3rd season. I love BoJack.
I've never seen an episode, so.
I mean, how do you explain to someone that no, some of the best television is about this talking horseman who he lives in a world where there's people, but there's also animal people. Right.
I mean, listen, I know people rave about it, and I always see it was on all the 10 best and all that stuff. So
it's fantastic. I mean, it is an exploration of human existence that happens to take the form of a 20-minute, rapid fire witty joke stream with the occasional it sure is hard to be so ridden with angst.
And BoJack is on Netflix.
That's Netflix show, yeah.
Netflix, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what I'm watching is also on Netflix, actually. Netflix actually has like some good summer television. They had Stranger Things, which I thought was good, and I really enjoyed. It was very nostalgic, and it was throwback. And you were like, whoa, Winona Ryder's actually like really good. Not that I thought that she wasn't. I don't know what I expected from Winona Ryder, but she was great. The kids were great, but that's not what I'm watching right now. What I'm watching right now is The Get Down. It is fantastic.
I haven't seen it yet. That's the Baz Luhrmann.
Yes, it is a hip hop musical and a whole lot of other stuff. I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, the pilot is like 90 minutes. It's very long for a drama pilot, even the longest of drama pilots.
Right.
But I mean, I think they said it cost like $120 million. Wow. But like, you see every dime on screen, and I think that's what I appreciate about it the most, is that maybe this is just me. I think that sometimes, when it comes to hip hop and movies about hip hop and stuff, sometimes they would skimp on the production value and whatnot. And I just think that it looks beautiful. The cast is great. I love the music. I listen to the music when I'm jogging and climbing a mountain at Runyon Canyon. It's just a great show to watch. And I think that they are doing like 6 episodes now, and they're breaking it up, so they're doing something different.
That's smart. That's so the trend lately, right? Like AMC has been doing that for a couple of years now. That
right.
Here's the fall installment and here's the spring installment.
Right.
We're just in a post rerun world at this point. It's like, nope, we're gonna make another little mini something to
keep people watching television.
Hooked.
Yeah, I mean, with Netflix, to me, it's super smart because it's like now you can't. I mean, because some people binge watch stuff in 2 days or 3 days,
right?
And so now it's like,
and then drop your
and then you drop the subscription, right? And I would, even though I use Netflix all the time, so it doesn't matter. I would probably forget if I had to, get rid of it. But now it's like, if you continue to just do all that programming, then there's never reasons for someone to cancel that subscription.
Right.
So to me, that's
and
smart.
They've been doing really. I mean, they're sort of, as HBO was in the Sopranos era, and HBO still is obviously amazing. Game of Thrones is one of the highest watched shows, or the highest pirated shows at least. Netflix is really becoming the HBO of the digital age, in terms of like, we're going to make whatever programming we want, and it's going to be as long as it needs to be, and it's going to cost whatever it costs, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, and I mean, how long that can last, some people say not forever,
right?
But I mean, it definitely, I mean, they are going through. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on Netflix, and a lot of it is actually good.
Well, I mean, not just actually good. Like, a lot of it is really, really good, right? Like,
right.
I mean, obviously they have their House of Cards, and they have the sort of set piece type stuff. But even like the little stuff, like Love from Judd Apatow, I mean, it was kind of flawed storytelling wise here and there, but I didn't care. It was of a quality. Really?
I guess I get this. I mean, I guess I hadn't watched because I'm behind on Orange Is the New Black, and then so I started Stranger Things. It's hard, like, watching TV, like when you are at work and you're literally talking about rape and bullying and drugs for 8 hours or however long we're there. That's hard to do that. And when I come home, I just want to watch, like, Judge Judy. I want to watch
you and Judge Judy.
I want to watch Judge Judy, or I want to watch Golden Girls, and I just want to laugh
I try my best not to watch anything unless it has a script. I think that way, because I'm a writer. I want writers to have jobs.
Listen,
and every reality show is
Judge
a job we
Judy
don't have.
Wisdom has made it into a script of mine. In almost every single thing that I've written, there's a piece of wisdom from Judge. Like, I'm gonna pitch a segment called "What Would Judy Do," and that's every week. I'm gonna talk about an episode of Judge Judy, and relate those themes to what's happening, because that's how great. I have 109 episodes on my, so I can just pluck one from my DVR because I just let them just pile up.
Wow, I do watch Shark Tank. so that's not script, but that's
Right.
like in a study in entrepreneurship. And I watch Mythbusters, or I did watch Mythbusters.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, seriously?
Nope.
It was on the air for like, I don't know, 15 years or
I
something.
watch Love and Hip Hop, pretty much all of them. New York, Atlanta, LA. LA premiered on Monday. Listen, don't talk to me about you're right or you are not supposed to like Love and Hip Hop or Real Housewives. I like Love and Hip Hop. I like it's getting a little too fake, but it's just so entertaining.
I can't take a lot of fake.
I can't I think the thing that people, this is gonna make me sound so terrible, but just to see what some of these people would do for $1 is so amazing to me that I have to watch, and it's amazing.
I gotta say, to each his own. And with that, to all of you out there, tell us, to each of you, what is your own? Please let us know what you're watching. Hit us up on Twitter. I am Digital Deron.
And I am Kirk Wright 79.
And we would love to hear from you. You can also follow us or talk to us at Good Talk Network. That's the sort of parent Twitter account for this show and others soon to come.
Soon to come. And again, we appreciate you guys reaching out to us and retweeting and all of that. So keep that coming. We really love it. I want as many people, as we can reach. I want to reach them because I want to be able to engage with as many people as I can about the things that we talk about here. So yeah,
please do participate with us. Go to our website, goodtalknetwork.com. There is a participate tab up in the navigation. Under that, there's ways for you to fill out a contact form. There's instructions on how to record the opening to this very show. We want to feature one of you in the audience at the beginning. So if you got a Kickstarter campaign going and you could use a little extra push, if you just want people to find your art, we would love to have you record the opening to the show and get a little exposure for yourselves. So
yes, definitely do that.
Send us a what's your favorite. We're really interested in making this a discourse between ourselves, our guests, and you.
Darren, you sound so official.
Right?
You sound so official,
I
and I
skipped into
sound
announcer mode.
So never official. So unofficial.
There's only one thing left to say, and that is good talk.
Good talk.